So in today's episode, I kind of wanted to do an at-home modification to the Lambda Defense B&T GHM9 or Grasshopper mouse. The greatest part about this piece, and the reason that I primarily picked it up, is because it's a great move away from pistols, but a replica you can purchase and continue to use with mags that you probably already have, and you don't have to go out and buy 5 or 6 more expensive $50 mags, because the GHM9G stands for Glock mags, which most of us already have. Now, one thing about this replica that I personally found some challenges with is the charging handle. It's not the most snappy in the world and kind of sluggish in a way. So obviously, when you charge it, right, it's a little sluggish. I don't know if you can feel that, but it is a little sluggish. And sometimes you see that sticking that it does? I'm not applying that much pressure to it. Sometimes when there's a mag in there, even with, it sticks a little bit. So what we're going to do is fix that. And we're going to fix that by short stroking. 2 things you're going to need are some sort of a tube cutter. I just bought this guy off Amazon. And if you tech a lot, you'll have probably a barrel you don't use that's from a stock gun that you're not going to ever use again. This is mine that I've shortened a ton because I was goofing about with it. This is actually from an AAP01. The stock inner barrel, I obviously want to throw in another barrel to it, but yours will probably be longer than this. But you're going to need some sort of a barrel with a decent bit of length on it because we're going to use this guy to short stroke. Very simple. I already went ahead and took the pin out myself, but you're going to remove this pin. Yours will come out the other side, but I just put it in there for ease of access, and then the entire stock will drop off. And again, yours might not come with this stock, but I have mine installed. And you're going to carefully remove this piece, the buffer, guide rods, and the 2 springs. Be careful, the 2 springs are a little flimsy or on the flimsier side, and they're not super strong, so you don't want to mess with those. And for now, we're going to get the GHM9 out of the way, stock out of the way. We'll slide these 2 springs off, and we're going to focus on our barrel. Now, the idea is we want to get the barrel, the inner barrel, to sit just like so, as a short spacer for the springs. Now, this isn't going to increase the strength of the recoil because the spring isn't going to compress any more than it already does. In fact, it'll probably even compress less. It's just going to shorten the range of travel of the bolt, which will give it a little bit more of a snappy feel to it. It'll fire off shots a little faster, but it will also hopefully keep it away from that sticking point. Now, again, just bear with me. I don't know what kind of longevity issues this can cause. Sometimes short stroking replicas does increase the wear on them, so just be careful. And be careful not to cut this too much, because too large and you're going to cause the bolt stop or the bolt catch not to be able to engage. You want a small short stroke. So I'm going to first take our barrel cutter. Again, you don't have to be super cleanest with this guy just because you're not using it for precision, right? We're using that as a short stroke. And I'm just going to line it up with the edge of the roller. Apply some tension. Obviously, don't use any pliers or anything if you're cutting a barrel for precision purposes and you're going to be using it as an inner barrel, but I won't be doing that, so I'm not too worried about this end. I'm not going to be saving it, of course. Okay, so the first piece popped off, and very simple. All we're going to do now is make another one at about the same size. Very easy to measure, because again, we're just going to the outside edge of the roller. Now we'll go a little further in. Take your time. Apply some tension. And we start cutting. Should be just about through. There we go. And the second short stroke piece came out, and they're both super similar in size. Okay, so now that we're here, we're just gonna take some fine sandpaper. It doesn't really matter. This is 220 grit, but you can just use something that's relatively fine. And we don't have to bore out the inside because, again, we're not using it for precision. We just want to flatten the edges so there's no sharp edges that'll be pushing against the back of our bolt or into the buffer on the back. So now, while we do this, put this in a safer space. While we do this, I do want to mention again, I'm no professional, so I'm going to say this with a grain of salt, and either someone who is more professional with this can confirm this in the comments below. But from what I've gathered, shortening the stroke or short stroking one of your replicas can cause further wear on them. But we're not increasing the spring tension, so there isn't extra pressure on the bolt or the receiver or any other parts of the replica when doing this. We're just shortening the bolt travel. So it shouldn't put more pressure on the replica. It should just, like I said, shorten the travel of the bolt, which means it's more snappy. It has less space for it to get stuck. So you get all the benefits of the short stroke, but without the added tension and wear on the replica. So now that we're getting to that point where it's pretty flat, we'll switch off to the opposite one. Jeez, butterfingers today. This side was already sanded down, but this side isn't on this one. I don't know if other companies currently sell short stroke buffers. I know there's a couple 3D printed files that you can find, and I think Jaeger Precision also sells printed ones on his website, but this is just the at-home version, I guess, something that I came up with until hopefully there will be parts available. Now what I think I want to do, I actually want to assemble this guy. I want to take a photo of where the bolt ends, fire off some rounds, and I'm going to do a side-by-side photo and a side-by-side slow-mo pre and post short stroke. I think would be a cool idea, so you can kind of get a feel of what's going on. I always found it easier to understand things when I saw them visually, so let's do that now. Cool. Okay. So here's your side-by-side view. Here's the bolt. Without the short stroke, let's throw in the short stroke. It's on the back side. Pull the stock back off. It just shows how easy it is to short stroke. Another thing, like I said, the springs are not the strongest, so be careful with them. Make sure they seat into the short stroke. And then there's two holes in the back. You have to make sure they both get into the holes. Don't miss an upsetter, you know. Don't want to put it in the wrong hole. And then we'll slide your stock back on. We'll toss the pin in. I'll show you the travel. It's much shorter. And then we'll show you the slow-mo. So as you can see, the top is the non-short stroked version and the bottom is the short stroked version where the bolt travels much shorter than it did previously. And here's a little slow-mo firing test, the short stroke on the bottom and the non-short stroke on the top. Obviously, the bottom is a little more snappy, and again, like I said, it doesn't travel all the way backwards. And of course, lastly, the primary reason I did this, we wanted to make sure that we got rid of that I guess, sticking problem we were having. So if you notice, there's no sticking on the way back. It just pulls straight back. And still, the bolt catch does work. Get the mag in, let's make sure. See it pop up? And that's how you know you did it correctly. So for now, that was my short stroke video, or homemade short stroke video on the GHM9G from Lambda Defense. There will be an upgrade series that's coming for this. I have a bunch of plans. I want to try out a bunch of the parts that are being released for it as well. I know I got a couple things on here right now, but that was just for usability purposes and a video that I was doing. But we are going to use a bunch of cool upgrade parts soon, so stay tuned. Let me know what you think, opinions and whatnot. And if you try this on your own, let me know how it works out. Later.